Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. I want to celebrate my presentation with the title Erikson's Theory of Psychosocial Development. Before I start my presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Vita Syafikri. People usually call me Vita. I am from Malikusala University, majoring in psychology. To shorten the time, let's start my presentation. Before we go to the material, we see a profile of Erik H. Erikson. Erik H. Erikson was born in Frankfurt, Germany on 15 June 1902 and died in Harwich, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, United States on May 1994 at the age of 91 years old. Before becoming a psychoanalyst, Erikson was an art teacher at a private school in Vienna. After meeting with Anna Freud, daughter of Sigmund Freud, Erikson began studying psychoanalysis at the Psychoanalytic Institute. In 1939, Erikson changed his name from Erik Hamburger to Erik H. Erikson. In the 1950, Erikson made Childhood and Society magazine Gorky and Adolf Hitler. The American Personality Discussion, some summary of the Freudian theory, and Gandhi's Truth Award-winning National Book Awards. A few years later, there is each stage of psychosocial Erikson development. First is trust versus mistrust, 0 until 1 years old. In this stage, baby desperately seeks nurturing and warmth. If a mother is able to provide for her child, the child develops the ability to trust and to develop hope. If the ego crisis is never resolved, the individual will have a hard time convincing others throughout his life, always convincing himself that others are trying to take advantage of him. Second is autonomy versus shame and doubt. At this stage, the child will learn that he or she has control over his body. Parents should guide his son, teaching him to control his will or impulse. Number note with treatment Rock 1. They practice politician strictly autonomy. Children can learn to adjust to their ideal expectation with social rule without much to last their initial understanding of autonomy. That is expectant resolution. In Erikson said, proceeding that if the child doesn't make it through this phase, then the kid won't have the initiative it takes, and the next stage and it gets jam up continuously at the next stage. Third is initiative versus guard. Third until 6 years old. It is during this period that children learn how to plan and carry out their action. An unsuccessful resolution of this stage will create some children are afraid to take initiative or make decisions for fear making a mistake. Fourth is industry versus inferiority, 6 until 12 years old. At this point, kids are learning to earn the pleasure and satisfaction of getting the job done, especially academic tasks. That settlement success at this stage will create children who can solve problems and take pride in achieving them. Ego skills earning are competence. On the other hand, the kids can't afford to find a positive solution and are unable to achieve what any person accomplish will feel inferior. 5 is identity versus identity confession, 12 until 20 years old. This stage is a period of self-standardization in which children seek identity in the field of sexuality, age, and activities. The role of parents as a source, a protection, and primary value begin to decline. 6 is intimacy versus isolation. 20 until 30 years old. Virtue is love. In this stage, young adults learn how to interact with others in a deeper way. The inability to form strong social bonds creates feelings of loneliness. 7 is generatively versus stagnation. From 30 until 65 years old. At this stage, the individual gives something to the world in return for what the world has given to him. Also, does something that can ensure the continuation of future generations in the future. The inability to hold generative views creates a feeling that life is worthless and boring. And the last is ego integrity versus despair. Above 65 years old. In this stage of old age, they can also recall the past and see meaning, tranquility, and integrity. Reflection on the past feels good, and the quest for the present is to integrate the purpose in life that has been pursued over the years. Okay, the conclusion is psychosocial crisis. First is trust versus mistrust. Second, autonomy versus shame and doubt. Third, initiative versus guilt. 4 is industry versus inferiority. 5 is identity versus identity confusion. 6 is intimacy versus isolation. 7 is stagnation versus generativity. 8 is integrity versus despair. And virtue is, first is hope, second is will, third is purpose, 4 is competence, 5 is fidelity, 6 is love, 7 is care, and 8 is wisdom. I think all my presentation. I'm so sorry if there's a mistake. If there's a question, please ask me. I think enough. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.